Well, hello everybody, it's Neil Foley from the Business Growth Club here again. Really delighted today to welcome Marcus Hemsley from the Fountain Partnership. How are you, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I'm sitting at St Giles House Hotel, drinking green tea.
What could be wrong in the world?
Well, it's a good question to open on. We could start listing it, but probably best not to.
And we won't talk about the football.
Well, Norwich.
You're a Norwich City supporter.
Just about now. That's terrible.
Are there any left?
No, we are. It's funny. With political parties, I'll change political party when they change their policies. I'll never change my football team, no matter how badly they play. But at the minute, I want the German manager to leave, who's playing a very slow and boring style of football. He's got a 5-year
plan, isn't he? Which is phenomenal. When actually you just got to stay up, mate.
Yeah, well,
or get in the playoffs.
Yeah, stay up. I think it's less ambitious. I want him to get in the playoffs and go up. Really, it was 5-year plan. He's only got a year left on the contract. So
is he?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll wait, but we're not going to talk about football.
No, so we could have just started.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about football. What we're going to hopefully do over the next half an hour, 40 minutes or so, is just explore a bit more about Fountain and the foundations, some of the challenges maybe you face at the moment, Marcus, with pretty phenomenal growth you've had in terms of volume. The Fountain Partnership have been an astonishing success story for Norwich and Norfolk and actually the UK with your Google Awards and back-to-back Google Awards, which is pretty unprecedented. So it's quite a challenge, isn't it?
It really is, and I think one of the things that's helped us manage the challenge is just be honest and say, we've never run a company this size before.
Okay.
And getting people in who have done it before, I think that was... That was a big thing. I mean, also, Neil, you've even helped us in the past as well, and I still come to you for advice. Sort of a shameless plug for Neil, but those free business multipliers...
they just work, don't they?
Well, it's just, it's so logical, yet it eludes so many people, so it's, it's absolutely incredible. But, at the minute, we've recently hired a financial controller, and bringing him in has been fantastic for finances.
So let me take you back a bit, though, because there's you and Rebecca, your wife, but she wasn't your wife then, presumably.
She's not my wife now.
Oh, really?
So it's a long engagement. I'm keeping her on her toes. Hopefully she won't listen to this. No,
keeping her, she might be keeping you on your toes.
Well, I mean, the truth is that a lot of people that run businesses know, when you get spare money, you just want to reinvest it in the business. So she grew up in 3 different countries, and she wants to have quite a nice, big, generous wedding. And every time we get chunks of cash, we want to put it back in the business, which has helped with the growth. So we talk about having a 2020 wedding, even though we got engaged in 2012. She makes me wear this wedding band, ring, maybe just to ward off any predators. That's being a bit arrogant there, I don't know. But
maybe we'll edit that bit. So the two of you started.
Yes, sorry.
So it wasn't Rob and Laura there at that time.
No, although they came on very quickly as friends. So the story is, I graduated in 2008 from the University of East Anglia. I studied
doing something as silly as philosophy, is that?
You say it's silly, but it's interesting. I think I use my philosophy degree every day in business.
Do you really?
Well, they taught me how to think critically and solve problems.
And I've always thought philosophy was there are no answers. It can be there is no right answer.
There's no definitive answer to some very sort of metaphysical questions, but when you debate that with some very shit hot... Am I allowed to swear in this? Or?
You certainly are, because all we do is mark it as explicit, and then that's fine. So the Americans don't get upset.
Okay, right. But it's some very shit hot academics, some very intelligent people in a room who won't let you get away with saying something stupid.
Okay.
So when you put forward an argument, and it may be about something ridiculous and fluffy about, what is truth, or is the table really there, but you have to say something logical in it, and they will rip you apart if not.
So from a business viewpoint, actually, that entirely relevant, isn't it?
Well, it's funny, because our approach to marketing really was sort of a no bullshit approach. Like, we want to know what the truth is, and actually part of that stems from the fact that both Rob and I studied philosophy, and it's the art of going...
Rob as well.
Yeah, so actually there's quite a few ex-philosophy graduates, because we just want to know what the case is.
But 10 years ago, I mean, I was trying to remember, but Google obviously wasn't as dominant as it was 10 years ago. Was pay-per-click and the online conversion... Were people talking about it then?
Well, they were. So that's how I came across it. So the other thing philosophy gave me, as well as good skills, was plenty of time. And I decided from a young age I wanted to get into business, do it myself. Sort of didn't like the idea of working for someone else. That wasn't really my bag. So thinking about what I was going to do as soon as I graduated, going to set up my business. thought maybe I should get into property like my dad, and then obviously this was around 2006, 2007, and started thinking maybe it wasn't a good time. So I went to this thing called the World Internet Summit, and this was sort of more in the personal development realm, and there's some of the listeners who have been to any of those seminars where you run to the back of the room and buy a course for $2,000, and I was one of those junkies that went along to the free events. And the one called the World Internet Summit in 2007 had all these people saying, "Oh, we're lifestyle, entrepreneurs, where we just set up landing pages and sell cheap PDFs for like $9.99, and we do this thing called Google AdWords." I was like, "Oh, I'd never heard of that." And in it they showed me a thing called the Keyword Tool. I thought, this is absolutely fascinating. I can find out exactly who's searching for what words, and I can put an ad up, and I can send people to a particular page, and I can sell someone else's product as an affiliate, and I can start making money as a student. Interesting enough, what I started using it for was student activism. So
this was in your green days.
Yes, I'm not a green anymore. I left the party. They went too left wing for me. They went extreme. Back in those days, they were just like the Lib Dems plus, sort of a centrist party that cared about the environment. Now they're a bunch of
we won't go there.
No, yes. Anyway, but back in the days, so I was using that for student activism. So my philosophy lecturer at the time was running to be a member of the European Parliament for the East of England, and I said, "Hey, look, Rupert, I want to help out." And he said, "Well, what skills do you have?" I said, "Well, I've been playing around with Google AdWords and messing around trying to do some affiliate stuff, and I reckon I could do that." He goes, "That's brilliant. The Green Party have a budget of £40,000 for internet marketing, and no one knows." They called it internet marketing back then, or online marketing. Now it's digital, you see. That evolved. And do you want to give it a go? And that was, I was like, yeah, I'll work for free and spend 40 grand and try stuff. And back in those days, Neil, it was the wild, wild west.
I bet.
Because you could bid on any word on Google Ads. Now, at the minute, since
Can't
2000,
you do that now?
No, so I couldn't bid on the word, I don't know, Tesco's, and send stuff to my little grocery store.
Oh, I see.
Online.
So you could even do that then?
Well, back then, there's a thing called quality score in Google AdWords. So you can do some brand bidding if it's relevant. But back then there was no quality score. So what I was doing for the Green Party, for example, is I was bidding on words such as Guardian or Independent, and putting up ads saying like, "Hey, Labour voter, here's why you should vote Green at the European elections," and they'd click and it would go to a video of the comedian Mark Thomas outside the Playhouse with Rupert saying, "New Labour are rubbish, vote Green." But back then you could just send traffic from anything. So if you wanted to sell stuff to teenagers, close to teenagers, you'd bid on the word Britney Spears, right? And you could do that back then, and now you can't do that anymore. No. So you could I saw it as a sort of game of control. It was a new industry where I could send thousands and thousands of people to different web pages, and I had that control, which I perhaps found quite interesting and alluring. So I thought I was politically right on, so I could send people to the right things. And because it works on a bidding system, Google AdWords, as most of the listeners will know, back then there was fewer people bidding, which meant the cost per clicks were much lower. Same with Facebook as well, much cheaper back then. So that's kind of how we started off, as doing that at university. Graduated in 2008. I was told by everyone that you should get a job to get some experience in an office, and I lasted 3 weeks in a junior marketing role, and they wouldn't set up AdWords. They wanted to send out leaflets, and the copy was terrible. And that's the other thing I did a lot of work on, because I thought, well, actually, I can...
You were right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I can write well, so I'm going to actually look on doing copywriting, sales copy, and that's kind of how we started up. Rebecca at the time was marketing manager for a local recruitment agency called Coca Bean Recruitment, so we really are going back. Some of you remember Coca Bean, Mary Pratt, and a big green, disruptive recruitment agency that unfortunately got hit during the financial crisis, and that's where we met Rob and Laura. So Rob was the top recruitment consultant there, and Laura was Rebecca's assistant, and then Rob and Laura became a couple, meeting through work. Rebecca and I set up Fountain, jumped ship, late 2008.
It was a big leap of faith for all of you, really, wasn't it? Rob and Laura were in decent jobs.
Well, decent, but the financial crisis, I think, pushed them. So they saw the writing on the wall, and Rob and Laura actually quit their jobs to go travelling, and we said, look, when you come back in September 2009, this was January, we will have a job for you. Fountain will be a roaring success. And they said, yeah, all right, whatever, we'll see. And that's what Rebecca and I worked towards. And in fairness, though, I think I gave a talk at the UEA about sort of Fountain's growth this year, one of their Barclays Innovation events, and I sort of sounded out a lot of the wonderful entrepreneurs and people in Norwich who, I count you as one of them, but there was a chap called Barney Phillips back then who he's recently sold the company. He runs a printing company called Dynamic Print.
Right.
He was the printer for Cocoa Bean, and Rex said, "Oh, me and Marcus want to set up a business." And he said, "Right, let me help you." And he took us to.
So you had help right from the word go. So you, thinking that through, you actually were smart enough to reach out for help from the word go, rather than saying, actually, we know what we're doing.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's what Rec and I, we were just very open being vulnerable. I think we said, look,
Okay.
we know we can create value in the marketplace. We know that Marcus is very good with Google Ads. I'm marketing manager for Cocoa Bean, and I've done various things there. We've got the case studies. We've never run a business before, so we just asked for help. And what was amazing was just how the business community just came around us. How other small business owners and entrepreneurs remembered how it was like for them, and just literally put their arms around us and sort of helped us on our journey.
So this is a key lesson, isn't it? So, because there's a bit of you thinking, actually, you need to front it out and pretend that actually, no, we're the, not font of all knowledge, but we're hardcore. We know what we're doing. Whereas you did the opposite.
Yeah, it's funny. So, I mean, I heard it recently at a Tony Robbins event, Unleash the Power Within. But I'm sure I read it years ago, and it's always sticks with me. And it's so true that Tony Robbins talks about his three core keys to success. Right, there's only three things you need to succeed. So, okay, what are they then? Right. And the first one's very obvious: have a very clear goal, distinct goal. Fine, make it ambitious. Whatever. I'm going to achieve this by this date. Fine. The second one is to go all in. Do everything. It's not like I'll work on it part time. It's like you burn the bridges. You go all in.
You go all in.
But most entrepreneurs do that. That's obvious, right? But then 97% of businesses fail in the first 10 years. So what's the difference between the 3%? Well, the 3% that succeed, generally speaking, have a mentor or a system or someone who's done that exact thing before.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So actually, if I'm being brutally honest, we've always had mentors. We've always had, and you know what? And it isn't just a small business thing. I mean, I was reading about this at the weekend. Do you know who Mark Zuckerberg's mentor used to be?
No.
Steve Jobs.
Really?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Do you know who Bill Gates' mentor was growing up? Warren Buffett.
Really?
You surround yourself with the people you want to be like. It's a cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
The interesting thing what Steve Jobs instilled in Mark Zuckerberg, which is really, really important, that stuck with me actually. The one thing he said that he thought was very valuable is Steve Jobs said you have to believe it's possible to find staff that are as good as you and care more about your business. Because a lot of us will hire people because we need someone, and they're all right, but they're just an employee and they'll just clock off at 5, and you kind of forgive them for their shortcomings because they work for you and they're an employee.
Yeah.
But actually, some of us with slightly bigger organisations now, we have got 18 players who are just amazing, who will work like it's their own business. And the trick is to just believe you can find a whole army of them, and that's kind of the job we're on at the minute. But I love bits of advice like that, because if Mark Zuckerberg hadn't have got it, he may not have got the right people at the beginning, and Facebook might not be where it is today.
And that must be true with so many businesses, because you do hear that time and again. It's about surrounding yourself with people who are better than you.
Always. You're the 5 people you hang around with. Your net worth will be within sort of 20% of them, right? And it is true, and I spend more time with people who are where I want to be financially and so on. But not just that, I mean physically as well. I've got a personal trainer, I've got people I train with for that, for all elements of your life. Interesting enough, relationships, didn't really have a mentor in relationships, and now we're getting that because, Rekha and I have had arguments in the last few years, things as are difficult, but that's an interesting one, looking at your life in different pillars, right? Health, wealth, relationships. Do you have a mentor in each of them who's living the life and has got the outcomes you want? Because then you just model their strategy, right? It's kind of basic stuff.
But I don't think people do on the personal side, do they? On the relationship side?
No, I think people almost feel like, well, it's me, and they almost feel it as like a criticism of their character.
Yeah.
But then actually your character's developed by accident. I didn't choose the school I went to, I didn't choose the town I was born in or the country. So there's so many things that are Marcus that kind of aren't. They just happen by accident. But I think you can get some free will by actually designing it and saying, well, actually, I don't want to be just be a good dad. I want to be the best father I can be. Well, it's my first go at rearing my son. I'm going to make a ton of mistakes.
There isn't a manual, so you do need to to source.
And I think people get a bit, so I'm reading an interesting book on raising boys at the minute, and I'm sort of going into that, and and I say to my son's babysitter, my son's carer, like, you guys look after kids all the time. Like, how do you get him to do this? And they're like, well, we don't want to tell you how to parent. It's like, no, I want to know, because you spend all day working with children. I do not. I do it on a very small scale, and with one kid, and obviously I know him very well, but
Yeah.
I always want new strategies and stuff. And I think that's what's helped us, being open to that advice, and actually taking bloody action on it. Because it's nothing worse when someone you recommend someone a book. Oh, what do you think of that? Oh no, well, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll think about reading it. Whereas, every day when I have coffee with people, and they recommend a book, I'll order it on Amazon in real time when they're in front of me, and then I'll tell them what I think of it.
That's the beauty of Amazon. Isn't
Yeah,
it? You can't argue with it. Can you?
exactly. But that way, you're always learning and you're always getting somewhere.
So the four of you set up, you get some initial success. I guess one of the questions I've always had in my mind, and I know partnerships aren't easy. I've been involved in business partnerships; they're not always easy. How do you manage the dynamics with four of you with two couples?
Oh,
because actually, and you're obviously doing it well. I'm not saying it's easy, but how do you manage that?
Not very well in the first couple of years, so I'm being brutally honest. Like, what's fascinating about the four of us, yes, we're two couples, they say there's four main personality types, and each of us fit into a different part of that.
Really? And have you grown into that, or do you think you always were?
We always were, and that, I mean, I'm sure she won't mind me saying this. So Laura, Rob's other half, my co-director Laura, she's the daughter of two accountants. I mean, obviously you know Laura personally. She's introverted, I'm probably more extroverted, and she lives in spreadsheets. She's very process driven, whereas I'm ideas and creative. I used to just think, what is wrong with this person? Why can't she see this problem like this? Why can't she see the business needs to be like this? I know she felt the same way about me, like, what is up with this guy? And I think there's a whole thing of group dynamics, it's like different stages, like norming, storming, and then performing, right? We went through the storming phase. Like, Laura and I used to hate each other at points. I was like, why? And then all of a sudden I realised that when she was right a few times, I was like, wow, I didn't see that, and she saw it coming. And I realised that all of my blind spots were someone else's strengths, and vice versa. And then as soon as we all kind of realised that as a group, I sort out Laura's advice. I go, Laura, look, I'm thinking about it like this, but I need to know how you'd look at it. And suddenly she goes, I was in this meeting, I was thinking, this approach isn't working. If I were Marcus, what would Marcus say? And it's quite good, then we kind of respect each other's differences. And that sounds a bit romantic, like, oh, isn't that nice, good for you guys? I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always been heated discussions and shit goes wrong all the time.
How do you manage to not take that home?
We don't, and that makes it quite difficult. So, last night's a perfect example. I came in, Rebecca's like, how was your meeting? So I started talking about my meetings, and I talk a lot. And then she said, look, can I just stop you? I was like, yeah. She goes, I don't want to talk about work anymore. So, hey, well, you asked me. She goes, yeah, but you've been banging on for 10 minutes and I'm tired. So sometimes you just have to be blunt with each other and say, look, can we just draw a line? We recognise the expression draw a line. Let's just draw a line and focus on our son and focus on, nice things. Or not that work isn't nice, but stuff that perhaps doesn't require critical thinking. So we don't. But I think the difference is, and I was saying this to you before we turned it on, is when things are difficult, we don't escalate it. Like, we don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we're all quite good at just letting stuff go and say, you know what, like Rob was a bit blunt with me the other day, but you know what, he's probably having a tough time. We see the innocence in each other's behaviour, rather than being like, I have never been so insulted in my life. I can't work with these fucking people and all the rest of it. I think you can just let stuff go and think, actually, what we're doing is extraordinary. It's the probability is that we're going to fail, and we just need to not sort of make it worse by escalating stuff. And stuff will always go wrong, so if you expect it to, and then just go, right, okay, getting angry right now isn't going to solve it. And truth be told, there are moments where I can look back and I still work myself and go, God, when Rebecca said that in that meeting, God, that really upset me. And I still think it, right? But that would mean 2 years ago. Those are just thoughts.
Yes.
And they'll go in a minute, and then another thought will come along. So I think that kind of goes into the three principles stuff you and I were speaking about. But I think all of us have that level of understanding.
And is this something you've learned to practice rather than something that necessarily comes, because it doesn't come naturally to most of us, does it? No,
we've definitely learned. I think actually Rob summed up once, because Nathan Lomax, who runs Quickfire Digital, kind of took us out for dinner once. He said, look, how have you guys managed it? How have you guys done it? And what happens when stuff goes wrong and it's difficult as a partnership? All the sort of questions you're asking. Rob said, well, I think the difference between us is all four of us are into personal development, and really what that means is we're open to changing, and we're introspective. So we're self-critical. So after a debate or an argument, we won't always be wedded to our positions, which means we're more malleable. And I think Whereas I
that's
think
a very good point.
if you've got a business partner who is a very stubborn entrepreneur who
Yes.
will not admit they're wrong and will not question actually, taking responsibility in something, then I think it's going to be harder to do business with those people.
Yes.
And the long-term relationship may be doomed. So
I think Rob summed that up nicely, isn't it? I heard that. I read that as a quote the other. I can't remember. It might have been a Seth Godin quote. I think talking about the definition of politics,
Right.
being that if I can show you a different way, a better way of doing something, would it change your mind? I think the definition of politics is no. Because actually I'm wedded to my beliefs.
Yeah,
And actually,
tribal politics.
Yeah, and
right?
I think and that really resonated with me to think actually, for a lot of people, that's exactly what they mean in terms of if I show you another way, are you going to change your mind or view or be open? For most people, the answer is no.
And it's a real shame, 'cause you're seeing that a lot with divide, both on the left and right,
yeah,
being
it's ridiculous.
more divided. And I'm always mindful of Churchill, who said consistency is for the small-minded. If I've got the same political views that I held 10 years ago, obviously by what I've said about the Green Party, I don't. I'm still very concerned about climate change, but that's fine. But it's also like Maynard Keynes, when the facts change, I change my opinion. What would you do, sir? But some people wouldn't. They'd be like, well, no, you're wrong. And it's,
It doesn't make any sense.
we always have to have bigger government, always have to have really small government, always have to. And I think that's fused with emotion. Do you notice that it becomes an identity?
Yes.
And I think that's a problem.
So
where
the four of you have managed, because of your intro self-development and self-critical, you're open.
Yeah, and I think there's a core sort of values, isn't it, of just like lifelong learning, always wanting to enhance and improve and be open to. I think it's that thing of being. It's okay to say, I don't know, or it's okay to say, I was wrong then.
Yeah.
And it's okay because it was based on innocent assumptions and logic back in the time. Or I need help, and I think every stage of growth, we've always got people, in yourself included, to help us.
Yes.
And that's something I've always believed. I mean, even the best, even Tiger Woods as a golf coach, for goodness sake. I mean, you always need that external eye, just seeing the things you can't see.
Do you remember the Olympic swimmer Mark Spitz?
No, I don't.
The American Olympic. He was the first guy. I think he won 7 gold medals at the Olympics. I can't remember. It wasn't that long ago. He had a swimming coach who couldn't swim. Which seemed just most bizarre.
Yeah.
But actually,
it's probably not the best example at the minute, 'cause Man United are doing rubbish, but Jose Mourinho was never a professional footballer.
wasn't he?
No, he was a translator. He was Bobby Robson. Yeah, he's Bobby Robson's translator.
Really?
That's how he learned his trade. So when Bobby Robson went to Barcelona in the 90s, he couldn't speak Spanish. So they hired a translator, one Jose Mourinho.
Good Lord.
That's why Barcelona hated him when he was a Real Madrid coach. They called him a translator. He's just a translator. But having said that, he's won titles in all the major countries. Man United are doing well at the minute. He's lost the dressing room, but that is what it is. But he was a translator.
I think he's got a game plan. Did you see he got sent to prison?
Mourinho?
Yeah.
When?
In Spain.
Oh, not now.
No, last week.
What?
He got convicted of tax evasion. But
How
if you
interesting.
get a sentence of less than 2 years, you don't serve it. So he agreed to. I don't know.
There
how
you
this
go.
worked.
You're a good
So he
lawyer.
got a sentence of a year, alongside Ronaldo and Messi.
How interesting.
Because the article was saying it would be a very interesting prison cell with the three of them. In there.
It's a shame, isn't it? Alas, the universe has missed out on putting those three in a cell for like 2 years and throwing away the key. But
So one of the things I'd be interested in, because I was talking to somebody the other day who was talking about the problems that we have within the area, and people, forget the duelling of the A47 and all the other nonsense. But they'd always talk about the skills gap, which and I guess if you went to London, everybody would say exactly the same thing.
yeah.
But how do you, in an area like Norfolk, how have you recruited such good people?
So, go on the Barcelona analogy. I mean, we've got the ones that we hire on personality back in the day, and they grew with us.
Okay.
So what's really beautiful is at the minute our general manager Alice has been with us for I think 6 years, and she
Really?
came on as a junior pay-per-click consultant.
Yep.
I mean, her father Terry Rose set up and has grown greenhouses direct, one of the most successful greenhouse manufacturers
Yes.
in the country, if not Europe. So she's come from that background, I suppose, of drive and all the rest of it. And there is talent here. I guess that's the point I'm trying to say. Or there's at least people who've grown up with the right mindset. Truth be told, now we're at 42, it is getting difficult.
Okay.
And the way we've recruited...
Because you're more specific as to what you want now, or?
also we've moved up the food chain. So our clients, there's a very big one in Silicon Valley we can't mention, which is annoying, but we've recently won Porsche, Casio watches, Bremont watches, we're speaking tonight, Frank Estate Agents, Winkworth, we've got some really big ones, but they demand a particular level of seniority.
Yes.
And that is getting harder to find in Norfolk. I mean, we are now paying London salaries for some very senior people, and the last two of the couple of big hires we've made have been people who are from Norwich originally but spent the last 10 or 15 years in London, and what's called them back is because they've got a route in Norwich. So I said this at a couple of events recently which people find rather amusing, but one of our strategies to recruit them is we run a Facebook campaign targeting people, because you can do demographic targeting, obviously a lot of people know Facebook, people who have some connection to Norwich through the UEA or Norwich schools, but
just to bring them back.
They are in London in their 30s, so 10 years experience in the game, working in the right job titles, and have children.
Yes.
And we hit them up with ads saying, is Norwich calling you home? Did you know you could earn London-based salary or London salary equivalents? Because we charge London rates, most of our clients are London-based, in Norwich. But here is the average property price. Here's what you can get. Here's the standard of living. And we get people that way. We also use R13 recruitment. They've probably placed about 20 of our guys, and Luke there is very good at finding people in London who are looking to come back. So we are having to use London. There is a skills shortage, but in a funny way there's always going to be a skills shortage in what we do because it changes so much. It's so difficult to keep ahead of the game, but that in some ways is good because we take that road less travelled. We put so much time in staying ahead and keeping ahead that actually we can outgun people that are being a bit slower, that may be bigger organisations. So it does help. But yes, there's a skills gap, but I have a belief for everyone that's listening, and if you want to get into employment, I always say, look, you've got the internet, there's no excuse. Like, I taught myself digital marketing, right, and now I own a Google Global Award-winning agency 10 years later, but I taught myself that based on core principles of return on investment, making people as much money as possible for what they give me. People always want money, right, and want to make a return. But how did I learn? How did I start up in the beginning? Well, at the beginning, we take SEO, one of the first services we offered. I was good at writing copy, and I knew that, and I learned doing online courses and modelling some copywriters that I liked, one called Drayton Bird. With the SEO piece, did a couple of online courses. That wasn't enough. I wanted to be the best at SEO. So I found the best SEO consultants around the country, rung them up and said, look, I've seen the copy on your website and I'm a copywriter, I think I could improve it. So I'll tell you what, I'll do a skills trade for you. You show me how you do SEO and I will show you, and I will rewrite your copy for you. So I combined all four of their methodologies with my own thinking. That's where the philosophy comes in, the critical thinking, my own research on software, and the online courses, put it together and put together a compelling offer. And then proved we could do it by getting number one for SEO Norwich, which we've been on for like 5-6 years. So
wow,
there you go.
How do the competition see you now? I mean, do people talk to you about mergers and saying, shall we join forces? Are you at that sort of size now? Yeah,
well, actually, interestingly enough, we've got people looking at that sort of stuff. We're getting a lot of it. I mean, our non-execs are like, well, you've got a little bit of fame now from winning that global Google award.
Twice.
It's funny. Well, the first one was the European, and then 2016 we won the European, and then last year we won the European, and then they did a global level. So they flew us out to New York to represent Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Won that. And what's kind of cool is we've been shortlisted again this year, but there's no global. It was a 1-year thing.
Brilliant.
Global award winners. So that's
you can always be global award winners.
Yeah. So we do have that little bit of fame, people wanting to work with us. In terms of competition, some people really don't like us because we do the hard work, and I'm not shy to say that. Like, one of the things that makes us different is we do really detailed forecasting up front. It's not profitable to do that with pitches, really, but I won't take anyone's money unless I'm confident that we're going to make them a clear return on investment. So we do a lot of detailed forecasting up front, and the reason I know people don't like it is I was at a panel at Google in King's Cross a couple of years ago as an agency that's notable and's got some interesting views. I was sitting on a panel, I was there with that, you ever watched The Apprentice, Climbing Online, Alan Sugar's agency, as a woman from there, and Actually, I tell you a side story from that. She was horrendous because we did a run through before the people came in. The audience was sitting there, and every time I gave an answer to the compere, she goes, "Oh, that's a good answer." I was like, "Well, thank you very much." And then when the live event happened, she stole my answers.
Really?
It was horrendous. These reality TV people, Neil, they're horrible.
Dear.
I was so naive, so I kept saying, "Yeah, well, what I think Lindsay meant to say was," and I just kept putting it on top, and it was actually terrible. But one of the questions was to all 200 agencies in the room, where do you think the future of digital marketing is? So I sort of leaned forward and said, look, you guys have all been in that position. Your account manager comes to you looking really nervous, shaking a bit, and said, look, the client wants to talk, it's been 3 months and they've lost money. And I said, none of you should ever be in that situation because you should forecast up front, and we should be looking at dialing up the full funnel, so conversion rate, attributing sales stuff. And there's a massive groan from the audience because they don't want to forecast up front. They just want to be able to, they want a salesperson that can go out and just sell SEO or pay-per-click contracts and just bring it in. And then they also don't really want to take responsibility for the funnel, the sales and marketing funnel.
Do you think they would still groan now if this was 2 years ago and you were doing it now?
I think some people would because...
Would they really? That seems astonishing to me.
Well, the truth is there's some people that run agencies that aren't marketing people.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that they may have multiple businesses. I've met people that say, look, oh yeah, you just set up an agency, it's great, good margins in it, just hire some paid search consultants, some pay-per-click consultants, some salespeople, off you go. So there's not a... Whereas with us, because my background wasn't direct sales copywriting, because Rob was a sales consultant and a recruitment consultant, Rebecca and Laura are marketeers, and none of us have worked for an agency, so we came to it quite raw. You know, we had no idea how it looked. But we just sat there and obsessed with, well, what does the optimal agency look like? Well, it forecasts up front to take risk out, and then it dials up each stage of the sales and marketing funnel. You know, you talk about the multipliers, Neil. It's basically putting in digital marketing to dial all three of those up, putting in a digital system, right? And you ignore two of the multipliers, you don't get as much.
Yeah. So if you get
the risk for a lot of marketing agencies, if you take responsibility for the for the conversion rate of the website, for the performance of the sales team,
you might fall short.
Yeah, and it's easier to say, well, we sent the traffic.
Yeah, it's up to you now.
But your website's not good enough, and your brand proposition's crap.
Yeah.
But I do that before I take their money. So when people say, hey Marcus, you know, we want to run on these keywords, and I look at the landing page on their website and I say, okay, so I'll get dual screens up, say here's your web page, and you want to run ads on these words in Google and this ecosystem of ads, and we click on them and open them on different tabs. And so just imagine you're a user and you've clicked on those 4 ads, and we clicked on another one of yours, and we look at these 5 web pages. Who on earth's going to get in touch with you or buy from you when you've got these 4 with much stronger brands, stronger copy, more competitive pricing? I said, what are you doing? Like, I'm not this blunt to them, it sounds like I'm being pretty rude, but I will. Because
but it's a blunt message, but it's actually an accurate
I'm just being
message,
honest. Because they say, I'm seeing 3 other agencies and these guys say they can do it for this. I'm like, no, listen, if you want to compete and take market share, you need to have you have the highest converting website in your industry, or at least on this keyword set, right? At the minute, you are the lowest converting. Oh, we just had our website done. Yeah, but it's not about having it done. I would say, when did Amazon last have their website done? Amazon don't have their website done every 3 years. Amazon have their website changed incrementally every minute through A/B testing. That's how you need to start looking at it. If you have the highest converting website in your industry, you can buy all the traffic, because the traffic's based on pay-per-click. But that's so we do turn away 68% of people that come to us. We turn away, well, because we can't help them. We're quite nice about it.
And there's no point, is there?
Well, I mean, if they're trying to come into a competitive market space, so, I want to sell. You know, we had one recently want to sell gym clothes. They were doing an absolute cracking job selling gym clothes on Amazon and eBay. Amazon, you pay 15% commission, and they're about to go with a large agency, and there's a big e-commerce website built, and they're like, right, okay, let's go. And someone said, look, I know you've got these London-based guys that look great track record. Just chat to Marcus up in Norwich. You know, Fountain are really good. Like, he'll just sense check it. And I said to them, right, guys, okay, well, what's your cost per acquisition? How much are we willing to pay for an average order? And they said £6. I said, why? They go, well, that's what we pay Amazon for an average order. Okay, fine. What's the cost per click? You know, you want to send all this traffic from AdWords and Google Shopping. What's the cost per click? Yeah, this agency said they're going to take 50 grand a month off you. Well, we don't know. Well, let me tell you, because you can look at it. There's a wonderful plugin called Keywords Everywhere that will tell you when you put stuff into Google. It was £2.
Wow.
So they have to get a 33.3% conversion rate.
Ridiculous.
Well, it's just not. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So I told them that, and at first they were stunned. They're like, "Well, There's this big agency in London, they're notable there. They've got 300 staff. They've got these flashy offices at the Shard. Maybe giving away who they are now, but they can't. They almost didn't believe me. And I said, well, look, Google says that's the cost per click. You've told me you want to pay £6.
You can't get anything close to
This is the mathematics, right? So they're in what I call the 68% of people. Because the way we solved it is, I said, look, they can say, well, how on earth do our competitors do it? Because the way AdWords works is through competitive bidding. I said, well, who are your competitors? They said, like Lululemon and Gymshark. And I said, okay, well, the way that the competitors do it is they will make their profit on the third or fourth sale. So these bigger companies have, email sequences, they have good remarketing campaigns. So I actually introduced them to a good friend of mine, James Davey, who's a retail consultant, who's now building that in.
Yeah.
But this other agency weren't interested in that. And you think, well, how are these big agencies just taking money on ad spend and not caring about the results? And the reason is I think there's a hangover from the old Mad Men days, like Don Draper style of, well, we'll take your money, throw some ads up and see what happens, right? I call that faith-based marketing. Whereas now...
And also there's always been that bit, I know we've talked about it before, in terms of if you're dealing with the owner of the business is one thing, but if you're dealing with the brand director or the sales director or whatever, there's a risk, isn't there, choosing Fountain in where's Norwich? I think I've heard of it.
Exactly.
Rather than the London-based, well-established, because if they cock up, well, who knew?
Yeah, well, I think
at least you're not going to lose your job. Whereas otherwise, they could say, who are these hicks that you're dealing with?
Well, there's that famous ad campaign in the 80s, and no one ever got fired for specifying IBM, right?
Absolutely,
so it's like,
right.
go with IBM, because you're not going to get fired if it goes wrong, because it's IBM.
And you can't argue with it.
And that's how they held onto their market share. And I think, we're lucky that we're in a more fragmented marketplace, because there's no IBM of digital marketing, you know. There isn't. There's some big agencies who are bigger than us, but... there's a few conglomerates, but the biggest will only have maybe 3,000 staff, right? So those, yes, they're significantly bigger than Fountain, but they're not an IBM to a wannabe startup like that. But it's interesting. So back to the original question about the competitors. What I want some of them to kind of think, actually, Fountain are right. Like, we need to be more accountable. We need to be forecasting. We need to be drawing up funnels and dialing it up. And that's why I'm quite open to speak to my competitors and just shout about it, because it's hard work and it's difficult and it's a pain and it's hard to forecast and it's hard to attribute where the most profitable customers are coming from on a lifetime value and put it back to a keyword. But my God, it's profitable. Yeah. And it's the best thing for the client. So I guess I'm quite lucky to have come into a new industry at a good time.
Yes.
When actually a lot of the habits in the marketing world come from an era where it's much harder to manage, to measure.
Yes.
Marketing, and there was a bit of smoke and mirrors. And the other thing I say is that people that get into marketing, like, if they were more intelligent, they would have been doctors or lawyers, right? They weren't the smart kids at school, were they? No. Now it's changing. You take like a good competitor of ours called Brain Labs. They only focus on pay-per-click, but their USP is they just hire Cambridge and Oxford grads and loads of data scientists. And I think that's it. You've got this sort of fight at the minute in advertising between madmen and maths men, right?
Yeah.
But there's still loads of madmen who just, say stupid things like, oh, well, someone actually said to me, it's like, okay, guys, thank you for your forecast, but it all seems a bit too scientific for me. My gut instinct is we need to run with newsprint in the Times, and I was just like, a bit too scientific.
What a phrase!
Oh, science. Look at how it lets us down with the internet and with planes. That
next time you go and see a doctor, say, "No, it sounds a bit medical to me."
People do that. People don't like vaccination. They don't. They go to homeopathic medicines. People do reject experts in science and so on. But you shouldn't be doing that in business because you're going to lose money. But that's interesting.
One of the things I know you're going to be comparing the AI frenzy.
Oh yes, at the end of this month.
It sounds quite interesting.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So what is AI a huge threat to your industry?
Yes and no. So yes, for those doing the mundane tasks that. To be honest, what the things that machines are good at, humans don't like doing. I don't like doing maths calculus in my head.
Well, it's a bit like you're saying the madmen versus the mathematicians. They can do the mathematician bit, can't they?
Yeah, and they can be a tool for the mathematicians. You need fewer of them. But in terms of understanding human emotions and creativity, AI isn't there yet. I'm listening to a Yuval Noah Harari's new book that came out a week ago called 21 Lessons for 21st Centuries. He's the guy that wrote *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*.
Got slammed that book though, didn't it? I've read some reviews and they weren't great.
The problem is *Sapiens* was such a seismic. Yeah, it was just an incredible book because they slagged off *Homo Deus* as well.
Yeah,
and they're slagging off this one. But it's like, come on, the Beatles.
The bar was high, wasn't it?
It's like a band where the first album was, can never be touched.
Yeah.
But that's the classic album, right? But it's fine. It's whether you want to feel the same as amazed as you were when you read *Sapiens*. But the trouble is with *Sapiens*, he's talking about what happened in the past.
Yes.
Whereas now he's forecasting in the future. So you get slammed, because you're just being more hypothetical. Yeah. But in that, he's saying, look, at some point, AI will be able to read emotions the way that we can. AI will be able to do all of the cognitive things that we can, but it's a little bit of a way off.
Okay.
But a little bit doesn't mean hundreds of years. We're looking at tens of years. It's weird. I think as humans, we evolved to deal with threats that are imminent. That's why we seem indifferent to climate change and stuff like that. We didn't evolve to worry about a threat that's 40 years down the line. That's quite serious because I've got children and potentially grandchildren coming up then. So I think with AI, with us, we're actually testing AI. So we're testing Albert AI, Sentient AI, Google's AI, and these are all tools. But the truth is, because Albert are funny, right? Because they tried to replace agencies and so, and you know about Albert, right?
Yeah, and I like that.
They came out a couple of years ago saying, fire agency and use Albert. That's great. But what happens when you use Albert and then the numbers go the wrong way and you start losing money? Yeah. Who are you picking up the phone to? What, some developers in Tel Aviv? Well, I don't know. It's the AI. Chat's the AI. Well, it can't bloody speak. Well, I don't know. Great. So it's just so now they're like,
so it is a tool. Isn't it?
So now I'll be like, you need to work with the agency because.
Has Albert changed their
now they want agency partners now.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's why we're going to work with them.
Well, because they're good people, aren't they?
They're good people. We're definitely going to test it, and I think they're the ones out of all of the AI people. I think they're the ones going the furthest. I mean, Google hate them. Google say they're just Google say they're like a little fly that's just annoying them. So use Google's AI. Google's automated tools. But the difference with Albert and Google is that Albert is multi-channel. So Albert can, overnight go, oh, well, hold on a second, this new Facebook campaign is killing it. And it can take money away from Google Shopping and Google Search and put it into Facebook automatically.
Really?
So whereas Google won't do that because it doesn't speak to Facebook. So that's the difference between the two. But the way I see it, I say it to my guys because they're all a bit nervous, are you going to replace me with a robot boss? And it's like, no. Simple, repetitive, manual tasks we automate. And we've got that. We're hiring more script writers. We're working with the University of Edinburgh's PhD department. And we can automate, but that isn't AI, that's just automation. There's a distinction. AI is the algorithm that sits on top and then thinks and does iterations and learnings. But we are having to move quickly. We had an away day last week where we literally said, okay, either we move or the market moves for us. And what I mean by that is that we've already lost 2 clients to machines this year. Now, those clients were startups where we built the campaigns and the client is testing a bit of kit, and we wrote a lot of scripts as well, so we kind of were the victims of our own success. But the clients then have got a bot that says it can manage it for cheaper than my guys stepping in, and we'll see. One of the initial bits of feedback is that thing I said of, well, on the bad weeks, we don't really know. Yeah, we haven't got a human who's smart enough to really, but you can hire that in house potentially. So there are threats to us. So we're like, okay, well, we have to move quicker than the market's going to move us. So we need to be ahead. So we've got this whole mantra of, automate, simple, so we can focus on complex. And complex doesn't have to be mathematically complex because machines can do that. Complex is more, so there's 5 stakeholders that we need to speak to, and 2 of them are at loggerheads.
So it's an emotional thing.
We've got a branding agency who one person likes, everyone doesn't. So we need to do some A/B split tests on this stuff. We need to be mindful of Pete because he fucking hates that guy. Because the truth is, humans get in the way of business, slow it down. But they're there at the minute to serve us. And there's also the whole attribution piece, right? There's what we've said to shareholders, what the CFO is looking at, or we want to exit, so we need the multiplier to be this. So actually we want more of these sorts of customers that are more expensive and less profitable, but my God, they're more enticing to a potential buyer, right? So there's all these things that the machine doesn't want to know and can't, and we don't want to handle in the first instance anyway. So that's to look at that's where we need to sit as strategists. But that requires my guys, and we've written personal development plans for all of them, to massively up their game.
Yes.
And if my guys, if they're not constantly learning, if they're not listening to podcasts every day, Audible books, if they're not doing Udemy courses, they're not into lifelong learning, they are going to struggle. And that's the same to anyone.
Aren't you?
Yeah, they're going to be, and quite frankly, they deserve to be. I know it sounds really callous and cold, but it's true.
It's in their control, isn't it?
Yeah, in a capitalist society, your job is to serve other people, solve their problems in quick and eloquent ways. And you've probably got a lot of value in yourself if you want to reach your potential. If you go, that sounds really boring, all this learning, you're probably in the wrong sector, right? You're not doing the right thing for you. Because my guy's obsessed about marketing. One of my new hires, she's told me, because her husband works in marketing as well, not for us, but she goes, oh, we spent Sunday afternoon just watching all these sort of Ryan Dice videos and all these sort of, from a traffic and conversion conference a few years ago, and they realised they'd been ignoring their toddler for like an hour and a half.
On a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, hopefully she's not listening to this, but there's that whole thing of like actually just, you enjoy it. You know, one of the jokes Rebecca made once, is, I knew I was in the right sector, is like a couple of years ago, I was really ill with horrible man flu, real man flu, Neil, stop smiling. Yeah. Serious, I had a fever. I wouldn't pick up a £10 note from the floor, that old chestnut. Because, Marcus, should I bring the laptop up so you can watch some box sets? I was like, no, fuck that. I want that new book on conversion rate optimization that came through Amazon. She's like, what? You're working? I was like, no, I really want to read that next... There's a really exciting chapter on, A/B split testing on e-commerce websites and 5 big mistakes. I want to read that bit. So even when I was on death's door, and I am a real man, aren't I? Death's door. But even when I was feeling ill with a fever, rather than watching, some crap, Game of Thrones, I don't watch because I'm
bubblegum.
Yeah, all that rubbish. I was grinding, not because I force myself to grind and I hate it, but I'm a man who does it. I find it really interesting. I naturally think about marketing funnels and sequences anyway. The reason I love it is that marketing is about psychology and mathematics, and I like data and I like psychology and how humans interact with things. So
hence you surround yourself with people like that. So if you to wrap up, Marcus, because we could talk all day and I could listen to you all day because it's fascinating.
Very kind.
But if you could give yourself as sort of go back 10 years, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself from 10 years ago when you were starting out?
Worry less and stop being a little bitch at times. I think that if I look back, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because things did kind of work out for me, right? But I think on that journey, I could have worried a lot less and used all those minutes and all that mental energy. Someone said once, it was actually very true, that what's the biggest resource that's wasted in the world? And you're like, I don't know, what is it? And it's like, it's mental energy. Because we spend all of those minutes. I use minutes because actually that's better than just time. It's literally all those minutes I spent worrying about stuff that never happened. We're going to go bankrupt, we're going to lose all these clients, I'm going to get sued, or I'm going to lose the staff, or competitors going to take me, or I'm going to... All of that internal chatter, if that had been more positive, aspirational, like, okay, how can I do this and what can I do? Or I spent the time...
So concentrate on stuff in your control.
Yeah, and it's not saying that, I'm not sort of trying to force guilt on my younger self. I accept that's natural of being human. We have a negativity bias, which is how our ancestors survived.
Yep.
The ancestors that were more happy-go-lucky got eaten and didn't reproduce. Yep. So we have but it's just being aware of that negativity bias and just catching yourself. I think the big thing here is the level of introspection.
Yes.
It's just being able to go, oh, there I go again.
Yep.
Like, being angry right now isn't going to solve this problem. Like, I've never solved a big business problem when I'm stressed, angry, pissed off. I feel that, but I need to then say, you know what, I'm subbing myself out. Marcus, it's what Daniel Farker should have done at the weekend to a couple of Norwich players. Like, you're going home for an early bath, you're playing crap today, your head's not in the game. And it's just actually, I've started doing that now. A couple of times this year, I've subbed myself out for the day.
Really?
I've said to my PA, look, cancel my meetings, tell them I'm ill. Because I am. I'm somebody I'm mentally ill because I'm just really stressed. And I've worked myself up, my fault. I go sit in Waterstones and just chill, or go and have a coffee, go to the gym, just sub myself off and then come back, because actually I can solve all of the problems in a much higher state of mind. So that's where I want to get to, and the way to do that is to surround myself with the right people.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. It's been brilliant. Thank you very much, Marcus. How do people get in touch with you? Through it via Fountain Partnership?
Yeah, I think if you email contact@fountainpartnership.co.uk, speak to Fiona O'Hara, my PA. That isn't me being a dick, but literally like my...
Your Fiona controls your diary, doesn't she?
She does, and she gets angry at me when I book stuff in, and she's like, no, I've got 3 provisional bookings for those 2 hours, and you've just gone off with Neil to have coffee, Marcus, how dare you. So go via Fiona's, because she manages my life. And then
Fiona Harper?
Fiona O'Hara.
O'Hara.
But if you go to contact@foundingpartnership.co.uk, it goes to her and say, "Hi Fiona, I want to chat to Marcus."
Okay.
Or just reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Don't add me on LinkedIn because I only have people on LinkedIn that I've actually met. So,
makes sense.
But I work the time to people. I always do, and I've made
you always do.
fascinating contacts. I mean, Nathan Lomax, great example, right? You know, Nathan. He reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are, but I've heard good things about you. You're doing something that I want to be doing in the future.
Classic Nathan.
Can I talk to you about setting up an agency?
Yeah.
And he was a one-man band then, and now he's got there's 12 of them.
Yeah.
Right? And that's partly because of a tiny part of it is some advice I gave, but I know he sought it out from all the other agency owners around Norwich, and he's just incredible at what he does and a great guy. But if anyone else is like that, then always happy to give him the time of day.
Well, that's brilliant. That's typical of you, Marcus. So it's been fascinating. We'll do a version 2. But for now, having spent a good 50 minutes has gone past in the blink of an eye.
It has, isn't it?
Thanks very much.